Welcome, everyone, to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you with us today because we are embarking on a genuinely fascinating journey into the ancient world of Vedic astrology. As a researcher and translator of these profound Sanskrit texts, I'm going to be guiding you through a documentary-style exploration of the Brihat Parasara Horosastra. Today, we're not just looking at basic surface-level horoscopes. No way. We're going to unlock some highly mathematical, ancient financial secrets hidden deep within Chapter 29 of this monumental work. We are quite literally going to decode the exact mechanics of wealth, the birth of good luck, and your ultimate financial destiny.
Okay, let's dive into this. A super common misconception is that a basic natal chart just tells the whole story of your finances. But the truth is, the ancient sages believed that just looking at the physical birth chart is nowhere near enough to predict precise financial outcomes. There is actually a hidden layer, kind of like a mathematical shadow chart, that dictates your truest financial destiny. So the question we're answering today is, how exactly do these ancient scholars calculate something so abstract yet so incredibly precise?
To answer that, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Foundations of Vedic astrology. 2. Planetary strengths. 3. Calculating the Bhavapada. 4. 11th house, financial gains. And 5. 12th house, uninterrupted wealth. Let's kick things off with Section 1, Foundations of Vedic Astrology. To really grasp the advanced financial math we're building up to, we have to start at the source. Every single complex formula, every mathematical point, and every Sanskrit verse we are about to decode originates from this legendary figure right here, Maharishi Parasara. Think of him as the master architect of the astrological systems we still use today. When we dive into his work, we aren't looking at some vague mysticism. We are looking at a highly structured, systematic science, compiled thousands of years ago, specifically designed to decode the human experience. And that includes the very precise nature of human prosperity. But here's the thing, before Parashara even touches on the concept of wealth, he absolutely insists we understand planetary strength. In Sanskrit, this is known as Shadbala. It's an absolutely crucial concept. A planet doesn't just sit statically in a chart, it possesses quantifiable, dynamic power based on 6 distinct components. We've got positional strength, directional strength, temporal or time-based strength, motional strength, natural strength, and finally, aspectual strength. So before we can ever predict if a particular planet is going to hand you immense wealth, we have to establish this immense mathematical structure behind its raw power. Moving right along to Section 2, Planetary Strengths and Arudas. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the text transitions from raw energy into precise fortune. Once we know a planet's raw power, we have to refine it. Looking here at Chapter 28 from the translated source, we see the calculations for Ishta and Kashta balas. In plain English, Ishta translates to a planet's benefic or auspicious tendency. Kashta, on the other hand, represents its malefic or inauspicious tendency. The ancient text gives us literal mathematical formulas, like adding planetary rays and dividing them, just to find out exactly how much good or bad luck a specific planet is carrying around with it. And they quantified this perfectly. Let's take a look at this data table directly from the text outlining Subhankas, which basically means benefic points. If a planet is sitting in exaltation, it's operating at maximum auspiciousness, awarding a full 60 points. That's the jackpot. If it's in its Mulach Pona, or root trine, it gives 45 points. Its own sign gives 30, and it scales all the way down to an equal sign giving 8 points. I always love pointing this out because it proves that Vedic astrology is not just intuition. It's a highly structured, data-driven science of probability and cosmic placement. All right, Section 3, Calculating the Bhavapada. So, we've established how to measure a planet's exact strength and auspiciousness. Now, we shift to the absolute core mechanism of our explainer today, Chapter 29, and the actual calculation of the Bhavapada. The text is super clear here. Analyzing a mere natal chart isn't enough. We have to calculate the padas for various houses to see the real, tangible effects. Now, this esoteric math might sound intimidating, but it's actually wonderfully logical. It's a simple 4-step formula. Step 1. Identify the house you want to analyze. Step 2. Find the planetary lord of that house. Step 3. Count how many signs away that lord has traveled from its own house. And Step 4. Count that exact same number of signs away from the lord's current position. The sign you land on? That is your pada. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept using the standard nativity chart provided right in Chapter 29 of our source text. Let's say we want to find the pada of the ascendant.
the very first house. The text says the pada corresponds to the sign arrived at by counting so many signs from the ascendant lord as he is away from the ascendant. It is literally a mirrored reflection, based perfectly on distance.
So you might be wondering, what exactly is this point we just calculated? Well, the Bhavapada, which is also widely known as the Aruda, is essentially a mathematical reflection, or a shadow, of an astrological house. Think of it this way. If your birth chart is the physical reality, the Aruda is the perceived reality. It's the physical manifestation of your actions in the material world. And when it comes to predicting tangible, real-world wealth, this calculated shadow is the absolute master key.
Which brings us to Section 4, 11th House, Financial Gains. This is the climax of our explainer today. We are now going to utilize this Aruda, this mathematical shadow, to decode the exact mechanics of financial gains according to the ancient text. Looking here at the manuscript, we find the authentic Sanskrit verses of chapter 29, dealing directly with pada and finance. As a researcher, my main goal is to strip away all the confusion and translate this ancient wisdom into pure, accessible English for you. So let's look at exactly what verses 5 and 6 reveal about the literal birth of your good luck.
Verse 5 is absolutely wild, guys. It is the ultimate indicator of profit. The text explicitly states that if you want to know about a person's financial gains, you do not just look at the 11th house of their normal birth chart. Nope. You must look at the 11th house from the Legnapada, the calculated reflection we just walked through. This specific shadow house acts as the engine for financial benefits. The text says that if a benefic planet, meaning one with high Ishta or positive points, is placed here or aspects this house, it guarantees the birth of profound good luck. We're talking abundant, tangible financial gains. And it scales, too. The more benefics involved, the higher those gains increase in an ascending order. This is the secret formula for profit.
But as we all know, making money is really only half the battle, right? Keeping it is the other half. That brings us to Section 5, 12th House, Uninterrupted Wealth. Let's transition to the final and, I'd argue, equally important piece of the financial puzzle: expenses and the smooth, continuous flow of wealth. This is where verse 6 comes in, focusing on the 12th house from the pada. Now, in standard astrology, the 12th house is almost always feared as the house of loss and isolation. But here, verse 6 reveals a brilliant secret. It says that if the 11th house from the pada is aspected by a planet bringing gains, and the 12th house from the pada is completely free from malefic relationships, the result is uninterrupted, smooth financial gain. It basically means your wealth engine is running at full capacity, and there are zero leaks in the gas tank. A complete lack of malefic influence on this specific shadow house is the absolute prerequisite for smooth, lasting prosperity. But wait, what if there are planets sitting in that 12th house from the Padada? Well, the text gives us a really fascinating and pragmatic comparison. If the 12th house from the Padada is influenced by benefic planets, the native will still have abundant earnings, but their expenses will be through what the text calls fair means. Think philanthropy, smart investments, or joyous family occasions. However, if malefic planets, the ones loaded up with high kashta points, influence this 12th house, it causes heavy, draining expenses through unfair means. And if there's a mix of both sitting there, the text pragmatically states your expenses will just flow through both fair and unfair channels. It's incredibly detailed. It's truly incredible just how structured and insightful this all is. We've seen exactly how Maharishi Parasar's ancient formulas transform a flat 2D chart into a multidimensional map of financial probability and luck, which leaves me with a final, slightly provocative thought for you to chew on. If a calculated mathematical shadow of your birth chart can pinpoint your deepest financial destiny and dictate the very birth of your good luck, what other hidden realities about your life are waiting to be decoded in the padas? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. Stay curious, keep learning, and I'll see you in our next experience.